Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So, I was prepared for interviews and maybe a little discussion, but not necessarily to lead that discussion. I guess first I'll say I was very pleased with the 4 applicants we had. I thought we had a lot of experience and knowledge in the room with those 4 different individuals, but now we've got to make some decisions. So I would like to hear kind of what the pleasure of the council is as far as how you want to move forward. Obviously, President Goodman's not here. He heard 2 of the interviews, but not tonight. So that's going to make it difficult for him to...
Was he online? Did he listen online?
Unless he was watching YouTube, I don't know how we wait knowing that.
Okay.
So, you know, we can talk about how we want to proceed, but anybody have any ideas of what you would like to see?
I say we rank them 1 to 4. Start with number 1, unless we want to kick 1 out or 2 out, and just proceed with those. And make an offer to the first one that we like. And then can't come to terms, we'll go to number 2. That make sense?
I definitely agree. I think we have to, you know, rank them as an aggregate though, but do we rank them individually first to arrive at that number, or are we just going to discuss it until we come up with a number 1? Do you want us each to, you think we should each rank and then compile that, or?
Assign points to them, and then add the points up so you got the
Yeah,
highest score.
we can do that.
Whichever one you're gonna do.
Or add the most. The most 1, 2, whatever.
Exactly how many of us wanted highest?
So you want to do it on paper, or you want to do
How
it?
many wanted?
Oh. By show of hands.
Mr. Copeland, do you have a suggestion?
Well, my suggestion is that you don't come to a decision tonight.
Sure.
That you have a discussion, because that's all you put on the public notice.
Okay.
And we could, and we have in the past put discussion, possible action, and we did not put possible action. So it's too important of a decision to argue back and forth whether or not a discussion should include a decision. It's too important of a decision to have that argument, or even the appearance of that argument. So that's my
Good point.
main advice. As to how you want to vote, I think that you can come back with some numbers. What I hear, somewhat of a grading system or a low number that would be tallied up for everyone. If you come back with that in writing, please remember that that is a public record. We'll need to provide that. Also, if you come back with it in a writing form, we need to have the name on the writing. So obviously that's more of a housekeeping issue, but an important one because it impacts public records. If you come back and you orally state it, it's going to be recorded also. So there's no risk of anonymity or no problem with anonymity. I suggest that you follow those 2 overarching guidelines, and then I think you're on the right path. You simply select how you want to grade them. That needs to be relayed to Mr. Goodman, and then you can wait until your next meeting, or you can obviously have a special meeting, and then we'll put on the notice to the public that there may be a final decision.
Okay.
Now, the one thing I do suggest you do is that you make a decision on what you're going to do. If, for example, let's say you have a numerical criteria, make a decision. What happens if there is a tie? Are you going to do new interviews, or are you then going to vote based on just those 2 candidates? And you go ahead and decide that tonight, so that if it comes to fruition later on, you already have a plan, and you don't have a whole lot of deliberation back and forth in the future.
Yep, and no bias, that's good.
So then I would probably suggest that we discuss whatever we want to tonight and lay the groundwork for that, and then have it on the next agenda for discussion and action, or possible action. I personally feel like after we all discuss it and go home and think about it, that we can rank them on a sheet of paper, our choices individually, 1 to 4, and just assign that numerical number to each one. And then when we compile them, we can add it up, and the individual with the lowest score is your top choice.
With the lowest score.
Does that make sense?
Or if you have
Because
them-
they're number 1, not number 4.
Right, so if you,
Yeah, okay.
if you're number 1, you get 1 point, if you're number 4, you get 4 points, or we have to flip it, which, either way, it can be a little confusing, we've dealt with this
I see
before.
what you mean.
You want us to do that and then send it to Latricia, she can compile it, we could do something on the next meeting, at the next council meeting?
I think at the next council meeting, I think we should have it on the agenda for discussion with possible action, and if we have the compiled numbers at that point, including Mr. Goodman's, then we can make a decision based on that numerical grid that we use. Now, if we adopt that, we have to agree that that's gonna be the decision.
Right.
Or we can say, rank them 1 to 4, and then bring your ranking back that night, and let's talk about who gets the most number 1 votes, and then number 2 votes, or start excluding people. It doesn't have to be an outright, whatever we just have to decide what that process is. But and there is, obviously, if there's a tiebreaker, I think we need to, as far as tiebreaker goes, the person with the most number 1 votes.
Well, I'm thinking to save time, we do the 1 to 4, pick ours, give it to Latricia, she can compile it, and we can bring it back to our next meeting. Who got what, instead of waiting till the next meeting.
But if we did that, would that have to be public record?
It would be a public record, but I do suggest that if you're keeping it to 4, it's not gonna be high math. And so we just turn them in at the beginning of the meeting, therefore there's no appearance of any impropriety, and there's no argument that your decision was broadcast before a deliberation is discussed.
Okay.
What if there's a ballot, 1 to 4, based on their interview? Hyatt, McCruskey, Bonner, Wood, 4, and then basically just have everybody check off or put their number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4
At the meeting, yeah.
At the meeting. that's
at
what he
the
said.
meeting and do the ballot, and we could do that at that time.
That's what he said.
You can do that, that's what I hear being proposed. It's just simply people are supposed to come back and know which 4 they are and have a number. Either way, it's gonna be easy math.
Yeah.
Because you've done the hard work, you narrowed it down to 4. It's not like you interviewed 10 and we.
Yeah. So would you suggest we send it to Latricia?
He wants us to wait.
No, wait.
Wait
Do it. He
until
wants
the
us to do
next
it in the meeting.
meeting with the
Even-
ballot.
Just
Even
have
if
the
we don't-
ballot prepared
Right.
for the meeting.
If you have a ballot with all 4 names on it, and you hand it to us when we enter the meeting, then we can vote
And give them
1,
back.
2, 3, 4, and give them right back, and then we get to that.
And the 2 of you,
One
the tally.
being our first choice, 2 being our second, that number.
But, so it goes back to the question, that's fine, but we understand that when we tally those votes, are we tallying points? So, meaning,
Well, let me ask you this, if
points are most number 1 votes.
you do with the,
That's
if
number
you
one
do
vote.
with the most number 1 votes, and you have a majority on one individual, then would that be the individual you choose?
That's what we need to hash out. If we say we're gonna tally points, or we're gonna go with the final of whatever the points are. If we say we're gonna tally number
I
of
see
first
what
place
you're saying
votes,
now.
and then go with it no matter what it is, or do we wanna
I
just
think
see
we
the
wanna-
results
I
of
think
the
we-
numbers, and
I think we
then,
wanna see the results, and we wanna discuss
and
it.
then discuss it and decide?
Because it may turn out that we really want the one with the most votes, not the one, most number 1 votes.
Well, it's gonna be the one with the most number 1
Exactly.
is gonna be winner.
Right.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Not if he got,
And that's why I
Four
suddenly the
ones
light bulb
and,
came on when he said it that
if he
way.
gets 4 ones
Oh, I
within
see.
a 4, the number, it could be, probably likely that it would be that person, but I'm just saying, are we gonna let the data answer it for us, or are we gonna look at the data and say, okay, based on that, let's all vote?
But if you have an individual that's got 3, say, 3 choices, okay, of the council.
3 number ones,
Of
you
the
mean?
5,
Number one.
3 number ones, then that would be the person, in my opinion.
Not if there was another person that also had 3.
No, forget the 3.
Well, what we're saying though is that, okay,
They could do
assuming
3
5
on the
people
field.
vote, they could have 3 number 1s
Yeah.
and 2 number 4s.
That's,
And then somebody could have 2 number 1s and 3 number 2s.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could give you an example, if the 3 chairs closest to me have applicant or interviewee number 1, rank number 1, 3 points on a scale of 1 to 4. If the 2 gentlemen furthest from me have it as that person with 4s, that's a total of 11 points. That's an average of 2.02 overall. If the second interviewee receives a ranking of 3 number 1s, and then you have a 2 and a 3 over there, that's a total of 8.
mhm.
And then that's a ranking 1.6 on average. So do you want the person who has the
Lowest
best
score.
average, or do you want someone that does really well with a couple of individuals, but bombs with others? But because he did well with more individuals overall, then they get the number. You have to decide how you want to
That's
come up with it.
a different way of saying exactly what I meant.
Exactly.
There's difference.
And it
Why
took
if
you
you-
a
why
second
if
time
you
to
just
say it,
have
I didn't understand
somebody-
what you meant.
Well, what if y'all just checked off the person that you wanted
The
to
name,
be,
right.
by
Just
the
pick the
name,
name.
without doing the rating? And if you got one person that had at least 3 checks, then that's the person.
That's the number, that's the same thing as what Mr. Kmet is saying, is that that's the person who got the most highest votes, like the number 1. If that person bombed with the others, then on average, they did not do as well as perhaps somebody else. For example, somebody that got second place amongst all 5. So you have to decide, do you want the best overall average? Or do you want someone that hit home runs with a few people?
I say just check off your choice.
He's saying check it without a number.
Right.
Check it off without a number.
I hear that, that's the same thing as a number 1.
You're saying the
That
person who
person
gets
gets
the
it.
most number 1 votes gets it.
Yes.
Regardless of
Right.
any numbers or averages. The problem with that is, we need number 2, or else we're gonna just have to come back to this if the first one has found something else.
Yeah, I think we need at least a number 2,
Yeah, you're right.
just in case we have to
Just in
move to the
case.
next one.
If we offer number 1 and they decline, we need the number 2. Go back.
Or, if they decline, you can start over again.
No,
So it'd be a quick start over again, I mean, it would be, come back and, we got 3 now, vote for your top 1. We can't do it tonight, but we need to figure out how, so when we get here, we're gonna do it. And
The way you generally rank every other provider is that you generally, when you think about it, you generally have a recommendation of the top proposer, bidder, whoever is responding to your advertisement. And then if it doesn't work out with that one in negotiations, that is, if they don't work out, then you move on to the second qualified
Exactly.
respond. And here, I recommend you do it similar to that, so that you have already taken care of your number 2. It also helps you with negotiations. The
Yeah.
top candidate realizes that you already have a number 2.
And there is somebody else.
Hopefully, you don't have to move on,
Yeah.
but you have that option. You don't have to go back into a caucus and deliberate over, well, now who's our number 2?
So I think we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and taking the 1 who's got the least votes
Yeah.
total, what it sounds like.
Understanding that, wouldn't you cast your votes individually for which of the four you wanted? And then you come back with a tally and it comes back to the council as these are our top two picks, now let's discuss these top two?
Well, that was my point earlier, we could do that, we just have to spell out the fact that just because you get the most, or the least points,
Right.
doesn't mean you win. We could do this to get the top two and then vote.
I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah, I think we can get that.
I think that would be more fair.
And we may only wanna vote one and two. Not 1, 2, 3, 4. We may only wanna vote
Yeah, I
one
would
and
agree.
two.
Right.
And that way the other
Yeah.
two that don't get votes are eliminated,
Automatically.
Right.
Sort of
unless
saying
you
is,
think somebody will be left out that you might wanna discuss later.
is each of you put down your one and two pick out of the four,
Right.
it gets tallied up. If one person only gets a number two, and another person gets 3 twos, well then that one number two, he's out. Cause he only got one vote for two, but this guy got 3 out of the 5, so he would be your number two pick. You know what I'm saying? He got the majority of number two.
Unless you
I'm
want him to
just-
be number one.
But I'm saying he's still in the rank, but he's saying he's still in the ranking of 1 and 2.
Right.
That's what you're gonna
Right.
Yeah, I
concentrate
think
on,
we
will be
need
the
to-
number 1
If
to
it gets
2.
number one and number two, and then we need to discuss it.
Yeah, we need a number one and two.
Rob?
If you do that, you realize you're going to have,
If I got 4 names on a card or whatever, I can check off who I think's first and who I think's second, and I don't see any point checking the rest of them.
That's what I mean.
That's what I'm getting
I
at.
think that's good enough,
Cause if you go through
Exactly.
2 of them, it's not likely.
right.
Yeah, they all seem pretty interested
Yeah.
in coming here for the job, so.
Yeah. So are you saying,
the only problem you have with that is that you can find that you have 4 selections, and so 2 people could say that Fred Coberline, he's my second choice. And so you'd have 2 number 2s for Fred. And then 2 other people could say, you know what, I've got the same person for number 2. And so you could end up with two number 2s there. For example, you and Ms. Jones may like the last person second best, and so you both rank the last person second best. Mr. Head and Ms. Robinson may like the first interviewee second best twice, and so that person has 2 number 2s also.
So we need to put check marks for our number 1 and number 2 choice. And then we just discuss those 2.
But that, you're counting 4 votes. There's gonna be 5 votes.
Right.
I agree,
Well,
so,
we hope.
just with 4
maybe.
people, you can
Well-
come up with multiple 2s.
Are you not voting?
Well, that was gonna be one of my questions. I mean, do you want me to,
Well, that was my
It-
question.
do you want me to vote? I know you guys have to vote to pick the city manager, but do you want my input and my suggestion?
We let you we let you interview, I mean, that was our choice to let you do interviews.
The mayor's vote should be counted the same way it was in the city clerk's vote.
Right.
Okay.
He did.
Informational only.
Because of your code. And bringing that up, you had a process that worked when you were selecting the city clerk. That's the most recent process you've gone through, where you all had to sit as the evaluators. You've obviously evaluated vendors, you're doing it for electricity right now. But when you all had to have been the evaluation committee, that is the most recent process you've been. If it worked, I suggest that you don't mess with that process. When you start only checking off 2 people, again, Mr. Ross and Ms. Jones may like someone the same as Ms. Robertson. Ms. Robinson may like a different person, and Mr. Goodman may like an entirely different person. And so now you got two people as the top choice. And the same thing can happen with the number two.
So basically, we rate them 1 through 4.
I think that is your, how did you do?
I don't know, I wasn't here, so somebody's have to tell me.
I think that's how we did it.
I think that's how we did it.
You voted 1 through 4?
Well, it was
Or
unanimous,
whatever
so,
happened.
Look at it at home, how we vote.
Would it not make sense, like she suggested, just you pick your top two and don't rank them 1 or 2? You just pick the 2 out of the 4?
And then we discussed this.
And then you
too,
tally up,
that
and
get
whoever the
most
top
checks.
2 of those check
We
marks will
pick our
be.
top two,
That's
just to check, not number.
No, number 1, number 2.
Right.
Okay,
The
just
2
put
that
it,
get the most checks is
just
who
put
we
a check.
discuss.
Just a check mark.
so,
Because in essence, you're just casting your votes for your top 2 choices.
So you just go vote for two.
right,
2 and
just
4.
with a check, with a
Not-
check.
Not picking really a 1 or a 2
Correct.
personally, you're
Right.
picking your top
You
2 to
Yeah.
bring your.
Picking the top
Leave
2 for discussion.
Leave off, no vote for the.
And then you tally the votes, and whoever
Then we
gets the
can
most
state
check
our
marks
case.
is number 1, whoever
Then you're
gets the
gonna have
second
to
is
have
number
another
2.
vote, right?
Well, but then somebody can make a motion and we could do it by consent, motion and second.
Well,
We count out the check.
I mean, if there were enough people who, you know, after the discussion.
If there was
we'll pretty
enough
much
people
know.
who picked 1 person, right?
Huh?
What?
Well, so you got 2 people. How do you pick one, how do you pick which one you want?
Then you have discussion. The one who has the most checks, the 2 that have the most checks are the 2 we discussed,
Right,
and figure out which one we want to rank first and offer the job to.
okay,
That makes sense?
okay. So,
Does
am
that
I,
work?
am I doing it or, am I doing it or not? Yes or no?
No, you would be involved in the discussion and give your input,
But I don't get the check,
get an actual vote, correct?
but I'm not
You
voting.
can give us the check, but we're not considering it in the final tally.
No, I know
I
that.
wanna know who you
I know
want,
that, yeah, that's what
but
I'm
it doesn't
asking.
count. That's what you did with the city clerk.
Yeah, and that's
Right.
fine, that's fine, that's the way it should be.
Right.
Okay, and then after, okay, my other question is, after you pick whichever one you're gonna pick, are you gonna discuss the contract so that an offer can be made, I assume, by the city attorney?
Mayor.
Huh, what?
Or-
Assumed by the mayor.
or the
The
HR
offer will be
director.
Extended by the mayor. I don't think another charter officer should be extending it to.
Okay, then, there was some stuff that we have to go over the contract here
Yeah.
and fill in some blanks.
I have it. I brought it.
Well, would that be after you choose or tonight?
I feel like we need to move forward, but I hate to leave the president of council out of a discussion about contracts. And I think we all should take this time between now and the next meeting discussion to
Review.
review it, such as the mayor did, highlight, looks like where your concerns are, your questions. Hopefully, it's gonna be a fairly, short review of the contract, since we did go through it all not long ago.
Right.
But there's a few things we need to talk about, which will still be fluid, because when we get to negotiations, those may be the same items that, when you start about vacation days and car allowance and that kind of stuff, that may be what we have to negotiate, so.
So, you're saying that I should be the one that negotiates with the one that the council votes on? And then brings it to the council?
Or to notify them at least.
I think that the council should select someone to notify the top individual and of the general terms that are discussed.
How would that be? Phone call, mail, personal visit?
Phone call first,
Right.
then follow up with a letter.
That's
And
up- that's
inviting
y'all's
them to
decision.
come negotiate the
I
contract.
mean, I think we can solve this at the next meeting when we
Okay.
hammer all this out.
We just need,
But I think that's definitely, we need to think about all those pieces.
if everybody gets a copy of the agreement and the revised job description. We ought to be able to come
I
up with.
don't think I have the revised job description.
It was revised on June
Right.
24th,
Right, you should.
Do I?
June 24th, 2020.
Well, I'll look, I'll check it
I
out.
received it from Joanne. I don't know if we've approved it or not.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
All
what
right.
we were putting out.
I'll check and see if I can find it.
This is what went out with the application,
Application.
Okay.
or the notice. This was the job description.
Does HR have that? That you could send to all of us?
Okay,
And the old agreement, you got the old agreement?
so I guess all we need to do is
I don't know what the
make sure
date
it's
is.
on the agenda.
If you'll send both of those items to everybody, please. What is the date of the next meeting? Is that
The
the
eighth.
8th?
September 8th.
So, Mrs. Wright, you'll put it on the agenda for 8th. Discussion with action. I think that'll give the council president time to weigh in. So is that the answer? We're gonna vote on we're gonna bring back our top 2 names.
Correct.
We're gonna put a check mark.
We're gonna have a ballot
Mm-hmm.
provided by staff with all 4 names, and we'll check off our top 2 choices. And then we will discuss
Tally those and discuss those top 2.
the top 2 vote receivers, and then make a decision.
Right, and then the mayor can call and.
Well, you're gonna have to go over the contract.
Well, that night, we'll discuss the contract and what our offer will be to that individual.
Exactly.
I mean,
Sounds good to me.
Sounds like we've never done this before, huh?
Let's don't have too much else on the agenda.
Yeah, make it as.
well, everybody knows, this is a crucial decision, it's very important, we gotta spend some time, thinking about it, talking about it, so. The agenda that night is important, and if it can be light, then that would be great, but we'll see what's on. Is it?
Oh,
Do we need to have a special meeting?
no, we need to bring our pajamas.
Maybe we can
I
put
don't
one
think-
together before then.
Yeah, we.
I mean, there's a holiday in between, so I doubt we can do that.
Long agenda, like consent items, or like new stuff?
How long, like, as in the last meeting, or?
Oh, my goodness.
But you started later.
There's a holidays before the meeting.
Right, we did start later.
Your holiday's the day before the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you wanna call a meeting next week and do this, just this?
I mean, we could do it like on September 3rd or something, which is a Thursday. Except that's the Thursday before the holiday.
Just a special meeting,
I don't know, I'm just looking, I'm just.
Yeah, I mean, what are the,
to be a special meeting for it, because I have to notice, will it give me time to notice it? If it be a special meeting.
Well, you could get the notice out tomorrow, it'd be plenty of time.
It would be like 10 days. Not quite. 1, 2,
Next Tuesday.
5, 6, 7.
7, 8.
If I have to send it to the paper tomorrow, it won't be published till next week.
And they don't go to press till that day.
Well, that'd be Thursday night then, Thursday evening. Well, that's better than nothing.
I mean, it just, I
that's
don't
not
know.
gonna beat us to the 8th, is it? The 8th is gonna be
Yes,
quicker
that's-
than that.
Huh?
No,
Yeah.
no. No, next Thursday will be the 3rd.
Because there's not a Monday before the.
Right, I know, but, so you're talking about meeting on the 3rd?
Yeah, and do the,
Just for this.
When does it have to come out in the paper?
Just for this.
Far before.
She said it wouldn't go out till like the Wednesday before that.
yeah, it came out today, so if you send it to the paper tomorrow, it won't come out till next Thursday.
Come out the day of the meeting.
Right, that's my question, is
That
that,
might be a notice,
that's not enough
no.
time. The 8th is the soonest date we're gonna be able to do.
Yep.
I think
Can we call a special meeting, Mr. Coble? With a 48-hour,
That's what we're talking about.
I know, but there's a 48 in the
You
charter.
have to put it all over the internet.
Yeah, you can, because of the newspaper issue, you should keep up with past historical practice. with the newspaper issue and the disbursement changing, there is no requirement that it go in the newspaper, the notice of the meeting.
Okay,
Is there a code requirement?
We just need to put it on the website and on the Facebook page, and I don't think we're doing that at the moment. Who's in charge?
Is there anything that it has to be the local newspaper?
I would just say put it on the city's
Could you
Facebook
send it to
page.
the Gainesville Sun?
It'll get lost in there, nobody will see it.
But it's publicized.
But we have a website and a Facebook page.
I'm just trying to remember, is your group coming back to this meeting?
You mean the fair group?
Yes.
They are not because we're through.
But they were supposed to bring something back to,
What are they supposed to bring back?
The finalized,
yeah, the finalized resolution.
Oh, they're supposed to bring a resolution.
yeah,
Yeah, but it won't take 5 minutes, it'll probably be me.
Okay.
no,
Do you
I don't know if y'all know that Amanda is moving. That's why she had to come when she came.
Yeah.
And I believe Galen is also coming back.
But can't the mayor call a special meeting with
They-
48-hour notice?
That's probably
There's
too,
no court or law requirement that it be in the newspaper.
that's probably
That's in
too
the
close.
clerk if it's in the code, and I'm looking that up.
I think we ought to do it on the 8th and plow through everything else.
Yeah,
Things that can be pushed to the next week.
and just do it faster than we normally do it.
If Waste Pro doesn't send me anything, then there's only just one issue that'll be about maybe 20 minutes. If that, he might be quicker in the
I have to figure out this
The other
resolution.
old business that you're going over. And that should take long.
Is this old business?
let's just wait till the 8th.
Yeah, I think we should.
It's just gonna be a pain to figure out, and then we gotta make sure we can all be there. I think if we do it on the 8th,
Let's just do it on the 8th.
we'll get through it.
Yeah.
I think if we all do our homework and we're ready when we get here.
We start at what, 6?
6.
Just talk real fast.
Yeah, just.
And don't let others talk a lot.
Okay.
Okay, how do we, right,
Do we need to make a motion to that effect, or just consensus among us?
just discussion about it, I guess.
Mr. Carolina, is that good enough?
Once we're at the end,
She's gonna have it.
I do think that you should have a motion and a agree, and a followed by a second and vote through the process, and it can be announced. I'm carrying over here on this side that there's gonna be a change in your clerk and things, but more importantly, I'd like you all to come to the conclusion of how you're going to vote.
A change in the what thing?
Yes.
A change in the clerk thing?
And the clerks who are here or not here. Who's gonna be here? Okay, so.
Oh, Latricia's not gonna be here on the 8th.
No.
Oh, I don't think we knew that. Oh, I didn't know that anyway. Sorry.
It hadn't been approved yet.
I just
Oh.
approved it.
Okay, thank you for doing
Fireman.
that. I wasn't sure, sorry. It will be fine.
We
We will survive.
We will, just one night.
But it is important to know that you're right. Yeah.
Okay, so, go on again, you would think the method that we talked about would be acceptable if we basically vote for our top 2 and then discuss amongst the council who we, along with the mayor, who we wanna lobby for or whatever, and then we'll take a vote?
Move to the agreement after that. Don't forget to put the agreement on the agenda too, so we can, it says agreement instead of contract, so that's what I'm calling it.
Now, we got to send these ballots in to Latricia?
No.
You're gonna do it in the meeting.
When you get to the meeting, they're gonna have the ballot for you, and you're just gonna check your top 2 and give it back to them. And then we'll tally in the top 2, we will discuss and move on to a decision with, and then we will discuss the terms of the offer and the agreement/contract. And then after that, I mean, I know there's some things in the contract that we need to talk about through the offer, but the contract will have to be negotiated. We're gonna have to decide who negotiates it, who offers. Again, maybe we don't decide that tonight. The president and council's not here if he'd like to take the reins on offering to the applicant. I don't know. But we can decide tonight, or we can wait until that meeting to decide who's gonna actually call.
I thought we
I think,
decided, I thought we.
I think previously we have let the mayor do it because it kind of keeps us out of it. You know, previously, you know, I'm talking about Holloway and Collins and Coleman. I think the mayor at the time was Pesco. I think he did that.
That was exactly my thoughts on the whole moderating piece and everything.
Yeah, and and I'll say for the record, it's not because the president can't do it. It's just, it takes the president out of it, takes the one council member out of it, so that the mayor can do it without involving us in that process.
Okay.
So you want a motion? I'll see how I can do with it. If I don't get it right, you help me. Are y'all ready? So y'all want to do it?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. I move that at the September 8th meeting, we will receive a ballot from the city staff, and we then all check off number 1 and number 2, just with a check mark for our top 2, and that they are then tallied, and we discuss our top 2 for decision on who to make an offer to. You want something else in the motion? And then we discuss the agreement when we're through? You want to add that?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead and add the agreement to it.
And then we discuss the terms of the agreement, the terms of the offer after that.
Offer. I'll second that one.
And that the offer be made by the mayor.
There we go, okay.
I'm sorry.
I'll second.
I'm trying to get everything in they want.
We have a motion and a second, that I think Patricia has it all down. Any discussion, Mayor?
Do we put our names on the ballot?
I think we
For
have.
public
We have to put our names on the ballot. I just wanted to make that clear. Just wanted to make
If
it
you
clear.
want to put them
Okay.
in order that they appeared,
Don't
Mike.
worry, Chief Stroh's name on here.
yeah, on the end, just to aggravate him.
Just check it.
1, 2.
We want to put Chief Stroh's name on
Uh,
this?
Sure.
We want to put them on there
We
twice.
might have a special ballot.
All right, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Ah,
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're moving forward. Do your homework. Review. Anybody have anything else?
No, sir. Good job.
Any adjournment?
Ed.
Hmm.